Hear me out, Greg. It's the 1980s.
Yeah.
They're playing D&D, and a boy named Will goes missing. It's the Upside Down.
Oh my God. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another breakdown of True Detective. Greg and Ryan here. Now, of course, again, there are spoilers throughout this entire video, so go watch it first, then come on back here.
And make sure you're subscribed because we're going to break down every single episode of Season 3, and it's a pretty good one so far.
Okay, let's jump into the episode, The Big Never. So yeah, you got like the big sleep, the big spot, so many different big something from noir in the past.
Yeah, and I think the Never here obviously deals with the time and the memory aspect of what Wayne's going through. So his life, you know, it's turning into, by 2015, The Big Never. What happened, what didn't happen. So we have a new director for episode 3.
Yes, we do. No more Saunier. They've switched to, is it Sackheim?
Daniel Sackheim, and he's done obviously this True Detective will do 4 episodes of True Detective. He's also done Jack Ryan. He's done Better Call Saul, The Ozarks, fittingly for this, The Leftovers, The Man in the High Castle, The Americans, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, NYPD Blue, and X-Files. So he has a pretty damn good list of credits on his resume.
That's honestly the most solid resume you could have walking into True Detective. Like, yeah, I think I could direct a few episodes. Here's my resume.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're giving him 4 episodes to like do his thing right here.
Okay, so the biggest thing we can get out of this episode really is from the 90s and Roland West. It's not just depositions anymore. We're gonna have a full-on story going on in the 90s. And I feel like we're now just gonna get a few flashbacks to the 80s, and really we're going to the 90s. At least that's what the creators are telling us too. It's like from this point on, after this episode, it's 90s now.
So the note, or the ransom note that we saw from last episode, we learned a few things about it. Obviously the grammar, we already knew the grammar was kind of spotty.
Yeah.
But the actual envelope that it was in was handwritten.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the smartest person in the room
No, not at all.
when they did this.
Still, it could be anyone.
And they're searching the local areas where it could have been postmarked by, so they're gonna hopefully track down where the person mailed it, and you know, some handwriting matches. If you don't want to get caught, this is not the way to do it.
No.
This isn't a brainiac. Processing stamps from a post office in Farmington. It could have been dropped in any mailbox. We're putting men out there to canvass.
Back in 2015, we're in the doctor's office with Henry and Wayne. They're talking about the disease. They don't want to say the name of the disease, Alzheimer's, but they just want to have that out there.
Right.
They don't want to say it yet, but that's what it is.
He's leading down that path, and he doesn't want to be treated any differently by his son or the doctor, like how the doctor's kind of, it almost was like an interrogation here as well, you know?
Yeah.
He's been on the other end of it. He's been in the depositions as well, and he's been, you know, interrogating people in 1980. And
It very much mirrors that.
Yeah, now the table's been turned, and he's going to be real with them. Like, he's like, I will, if you guys try to put me into a home,
The
he's
clock
gonna
is
commit,
ticking
He's going to
here.
commit suicide.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we see the gun by his side all the time, in, you know, in the drawer by his bed and on the table whenever he's doing his work.
Essentially, if his mind goes too far off or his son puts him in a home, he says he's going to off himself.
Yeah.
Next, we learn a little bit about the Ozarks Children's Outreach Center.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, before we even go there.
Right. We're going to go there later, but we find out that there was a reward set for any information on the missing children, on you know, Julie.
Yeah.
Because Will has, you know, since passed away. But it blindsides Wayne and Roland because they didn't know anything about this. It's almost like they went over their head to their higher ups and okayed this reward to reach out to the community. You'd think that the lead detectives might know these details before it kind of hits the public.
This is them planting the seeds for, like, there's something else, bigger picture here, something going above their heads here. It's like, this is Chinatown. Sorry, it's over your heads. We can't deal with it kind of vibe I'm getting here.
Now, during a 1990 deposition with Roland West, I found interest in a particular line that he says when he kind of fibs on what happened with Ted LaGrange.
Kicking his ass, yeah.
Kicking his ass. He says that, obviously he doesn't say that happened. But he says a thing about, you know, my mind is fuzzy, you should ask Wayne. Now, did you take that as like he knew that Wayne was Wayne has some memory issues,
Yes.
or was he just messing with the cops?
Same thing. I think
Yeah.
it was more of like, listen, guys, don't go too far into that. We kicked this guy's ass. Just leave it as it is. I think
Right.
he was just a little nod at that. That wasn't anything more like there were bigger clues in there. I think that was more of, we kicked this guy's ass. We did things that were a little in the gray area. So don't look this up. Ask Wayne.
Purple Haze, my man. Tried to get him transferred over here twice, you know. Blocked both times by the major's office. Told me not to ask again.
Feels like we should stay on point.
I'm making a point, son.
Now we're staying in the 90s a little bit longer, and we're in the parking lot for Walgreens. They're at the pharmacy. Of course they are, because
Yeah,
he's
it's
got to go check it out.
It's like they're a married duo. They're doing a stakeout, and I think it just goes in to show like how much this case meant to themselves individually, but also their marriage.
Yes.
Like it really kept everything going forward, the momentum of it. And I think that when that changed, then their marriage changed as well.
Yeah, it's also showing too that she doesn't really care as much about the case as he does, or at least we get that much. It's absorbing him, where she's like, "Let's go, just have sex. Let's go find somewhere where they have sex." And it shows that she's a little bit, let's go. Let's, we don't have to be here with this case the entire time. And he's not going with that vibe at all.
Yeah, I kind of disagree to a touch, just because I think it means a lot to each of them, just in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, he just wants to solve the damn thing, and I think that she has a different kind of objective. Obviously, as a writer, like trying to get this book out, and then she's even willing to like flirt with other police officers, and their detectives, in order to get down some new details that maybe Wayne couldn't do himself.
I love that scene, by
She's
the
willing
way.
to do anything by any means necessary in order, not any means necessary, but at least go on a date with another officer in order to get some, details that weren't public. So, it means a lot to her. I just don't think it means the same thing to each other.
Remember, he's at a desk job, and she's getting all the fun right now, or at least in his mind, she's having all the fun, doing all the gumshoe work, and while he's taking care of the kids, and he's at a desk job. Things like that are starting to pepper into his life a little bit more than he thought he would be at this point in his career.
And let's talk about that. Like later on in the episode, he goes to Walmart, which, during this time, becoming one of the biggest corporations in the world. And, I think part of that, desk job, stay-at-home dad kind of thing is kind of tearing apart in the fact that this is unsolved mystery is just eating at him. And, he's a little bit frantic and scared, even if his daughter goes missing for,
He lost
5-10
Becca
minutes.
for 5 minutes, yes.
Yeah.
From looking at the toilet paper?
Yeah.
Trying to pick which one. The second that happened, you immediately thought, okay, he's going to find her.
Yeah.
But
it just goes to show the impact of this case and what it's done to himself and the community around him. And he's kind of on I'd say a heightened state at that point in his life, because it just doesn't sit well with him that he never found out what happened to Julie.
God damn it, you can't do that, you hear me? Don't do that, Rebecca.
Now, speaking of all that, we also got confirmation in this episode that the Purcell case was Wayne's last case. Like you mentioned, he's on a desk job. But we don't know exactly what went down. We just know that, according to Roland West, that he was kind of done dirty by the higher-ups.
It looks like at some point in this case, he's probably going to be put to the back burner when they go forward with whoever they think.
And then Roland West gets kind of elevated.
This also knocks down our theory that we thought that maybe there's a huge falling out between Roland and Wayne. It seems like one of the higher-ups in between them just decided to split them up and keep them away from each other. So that's all that is.
Now, a big-time reveal in this episode, the Purcell kids didn't really tell the truth.
What did they say? Everyone's lying. So
Yes.
again, the kids. Come back to the kids.
We were reminded the first episode, everyone's lying. The kids said that they were kind of BFFs with Ronnie and some of the other neighbors, but what we find out from Ronnie is that they never really hung out.
No, sir. We didn't play much. I mean, I told him he could come over sometime to see the new puppy, but that's it.
Time to go back to talk to Mike and all these kids, and go back to the first episode, these kids running around. They have a bigger story here that we're not seeing yet. The main takeaway here is that you can't trust the kids, you can't trust the cops, you can't trust, who else here?
Politicians.
We got politicians,
The adults, parents, anyone.
Everyone's lying. You don't know what's going on just yet.
Now this leads our two lead detectives to kind of go back to the house and try to find some more evidence and see what the hell where else do we start?
Let's go back to the house. I feel like in the 90s, so they're gonna, again, the first thing, we got to go back to the house, the Purcell house. There's something
They
missing.
didn't really do a really nice clean sweep the first time.
They sure didn't.
There's more evidence popping up, and what we see is in, I think it's Julie's closet, we see a bag with a notebook. And basically there's a map of the woods where they used to maybe meet up with somebody. We also see, it looks like a sunset or a sunrise in the woods with a pink and yellow crown in the corner. I immediately thought Yellow King from season 1. I know you hate when I bring up the Yellow King.
I don't hate it. I think the creators are just playing with you
just
here.
messing with us, totally. And then we also saw some torn up little notes that are extremely creepy. One, they said, it's all right, I'm always here, don't listen. I'll always keep you safe. It's okay. Have a good night. All these little notes that it was correspondence between some other stranger, perhaps an adult, or it was correspondence between the brother and sister, Will and Julie. We don't really know, but we knew that this bag, this Hoyt Foods bag, contained all these kind of extra clues about where they would hang out. Now, thanks to Amelia's solo investigation at the bar with a detective from the Oklahoma police, we find out that they do have the full prints of Julie's.
She wasn't behind the pharmacy.
But we don't know if it was front or behind supposedly they didn't get a clean sweep of the whole area. They didn't do a thorough job. It was like they had
and they're still waiting to get back on the
they had
video footage.
They had limited time to get the prints, and it was a full match of Julie's fingerprint.
Also, I feel like that scene was just setting us up for the scene where she gets home and they blow up on each other. It's just to set up Wayne and his isolation from the case itself and how he feels like he's useless here and he just lost the kids. And he's being a dick.
You're reading it, finally.
Yeah, I read it. Keep seeing my name.
So we have the Hoyt Foods bag in the closet, and also Lucy, their mother, worked at Hoyt Foods for a time.
Yeah.
So they head to the headquarters of Hoyt Foods to get some more info on that company. Turns out that this company is the one that funds the Ozarks Children Outreach Center.
How convenient.
How convenient. So it feels like something fishy is going on with this place. They ask for the list of all the names, all 700 employees that work there, and the fact that Mr. Hoyt is out on a safari
In Africa.
He
Oh, how convenient.
Hunting.
Again.
He enjoys hunting, and
I love that
supposedly
line.
he left before Halloween.
Yes. He left before Halloween, but I love that line from Roland. It's like, oh, my friend Wayne here, he's a hunter. And then the music kicked the score. Boom. Like, oh, shit. He's coming for you.
Yeah, I had this vision of just Wayne tracking down Mr. Hoyt.
In Africa.
In Africa, or when he
just got an elephant gun. Like,
when he gets back from Africa, Wayne's going to track him down and find out what this guy's deal is.
Mr. Hoyt's been in Africa since mid-October. Safari.
Oh, yeah? My partner's a bit of a hunter himself.
Now, my takeaway out of Hoyt is that may be where Julie's biological dad is. If they go down that route, maybe not the killer.
So Lucy met this man there.
Maybe.
And that's Julie's father.
Yes, Julie's father is somewhere working at Hoyt, maybe.
Yeah, this is very major conspiracy, but I was thinking very maniacal in terms of the owners of Hoyt, Mr. and Mrs. Hoyt, who started this whole thing. They obviously have deep pockets. They have influence and power in the community.
They're stealing children.
They might have interest in some type of bigger pedophilia ring and kind of can control the prosecutor's office and make sure they kind of cover up things.
Okay.
That wouldn't point the finger at them.
Not dismissing that. It's there. They're throwing it out there for you, so I'm not going to dismiss that. I think just the baby daddy's there.
I think just the bottom line is be suspicious of Hoyt Foods and their mission in the community, as well as people that might work there.
Yes. Higher ups, there's a bigger problem going on here with them, and they're just trying to maybe clean something else down there. This feels a little bit like season 2, where you had a lot of storylines going around and you didn't know what to follow. But I feel like, again, they're on a good pace right now. I love this. Now,
some possible real-life inspiration for Hoyt Foods could be something called Tyson Foods, which I'm sure you've heard of. I love the chicken nuggets. I don't know about you.
That was my childhood.
Yeah. Tyson Foods was actually founded in Arkansas as well, specifically Springdale. And obviously they're a huge multinational corporation that are one of the biggest manufacturers and processors of meat, specifically chicken and beef, in the U.S. and the world. But also, in a small town, would have their hands in a lot of different avenues.
Of course.
Political.
Yes.
Charity, And
lobbyists all over the place.
Of course. And, think about it, this in the 80s, 90s, lots of vast influence giving jobs to a lot of the community and also, having the power to influence.
Are you about to have Tyson's lawyers come in this door any second? What are
I'm
you
not
saying?
blaming
Where are you going with
Tyson
this?
is not involved in any of this stuff. I'm just saying, they might have gotten some inspiration of Tyson and maybe the impact that a corporation would have in this small of a community. I just love those nuggets. More things we find from the notebook, from Julie's notebook.
Okay.
A drawing of a castle. You know what lives in the castle?
A king.
A yellow king lives in a castle. A drawing of a kitchen or an interior of a house or a castle-looking spot, right?
Yes.
And, maybe it was just an imaginary play area, imaginary spot. Maybe they've seen
Fantasy
portions of it.
with these kids. Again, 'cause this leads back to D&D, something to do with the game. I doubtful it has anything to do with the game here. She would have drawn I can see some drawing of some king or queen or some weird thing. We didn't get that yet. We just got a castle.
Yeah, we do know though that Will is big time into D&D. We saw some of the dice in the forest that Wayne found.
My first initial thought when I saw him grab the dice, though, I was like, no, take a picture of it first. Did he do it? I'm thinking too far into this case.
The numbers
I
and
know.
stuff, yeah.
Because I wanted to see, wait, what were the numbers? But then you never know, because some fox or something could have kicked it over.
Totally.
It's fine.
Oh, now you're blaming it back on the fox. I see you, Greg. Also out in the woods was a couple more of those dolls.
Yes.
And some other toys. I think I saw a Han Solo and a Princess Leia toy.
It was
some
Han
Star
or
Wars.
Luke, and I got that too. I think that's the one they were clearly pointing at. They want you to make sure to pay attention to them.
Now the major point here is that it seems as if this was a secret hangout spot
They had a
for
friend.
them.
They had a secret friend.
That none of the parents knew about. Parents couldn't recognize any of these toys, didn't know if they bought them for them or where they acquired them, but it's very likely that an adult was meeting them there and giving them toys, and it became a regular thing.
We don't know yet. It could be another kid too. We don't know that.
We also find the location of where Will was probably killed.
Yeah, presumably killed at this one spot because of the blood they found on the rocks. It looks like I still think, maybe what if he tripped, fell back and hit that rock? They're playing this game, this D&D game, and I'm the king or whatever, and he just falls off.
Julie tried to cover it up because she was scared and then
She
kind of
can't
ran
move.
away.
The thing is, lifting the body up and all this, it still seems like there may be someone else there, but it doesn't mean that there was a murder at this location.
Correct. Now this leads them down to a farmhouse that's located right near this area.
Of course, there's
but
always
it's
some
not on
mysteries.
it's not on any map. It's not on any map.
Nope.
So I was immediately suspicious of this. It's not on any map, and the old man in there has some pretty intriguing details.
Someone came in, I love it, because he says, oh yeah, there was a cop here earlier. Now, any Law and Order episode, you're like, oh, this is when Tutuola says, what cop? And he just looks at the guy and then we got him. That's immediately you're going down that route. But I feel like, yes, there's tiny clues here that someone's lying.
Yes, because again, Wayne and Roland, they're completely blindsided that another cop went there because officially no one talked to this resident here.
Yeah, there's no reason they wouldn't have said anything about this resident at any point in the investigation earlier.
So the man shares some more details about the kids. He says he's seen them 3 or 4 times playing in the woods.
Okay.
And that he also saw a brown sedan, an upscale brown sedan, something that might stick out in this community, with a black man and a white woman inside the car.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
So I'm like, okay, where's the lie in that story?
Right.
Where's the twist in that? I like to think that maybe it wasn't a black man and a white person. I feel like maybe he's switching the races there.
Right.
But then that leads you back towards Amelia again, and I'm still not going down that route. I don't think it's Amelia. Also, this brown car, if you want to look, putting that clue in there for the viewers.
You searched for
Reddit.
every brown car.
Yes, they're going to go back and look. So like at Shoepick and Briarcliff, there's a brown car when the kids leave right off, when they say, bye, Dad, and Dad's screaming at them, say, come back home at this time. So whoever's out there, they could have heard them right then and there. There's a brown caddy, I think. But again, we're looking for something like brand new. I'm assuming here we haven't seen this car just yet.
I definitely do agree with you that there's probably a little bit of truth in here, sprinkled in with a lot of, obviously we can't trust anyone, right? So he's definitely lying about different parts of this. Like he remembers those details, but then he can't describe or even recall the name of the person that came over to question him. He just showed him a badge. So it's like, which part of this is the truth, which part is the lie? And clearly he either is trying to get them off the trail of what really happened.
Or the guy who showed up earlier could have paid him off and
Exactly.
said, say this when these cops show up.
Totally. Now, you might call me crazy for this, but I went back to the notebook drawings of Julie's, right? And we saw that castle that she drew. I have it right here.
Yes.
It looks eerily similar to how a child might see this farmhouse with the stone hedges in the front. You know, it has kind of its own little castle vibe to it, as well as the interior of this kitchen. I mean, it's not, you know, a perfect rendition of it, of course, but with the drawers and the light, bringing in the light from outside, it feels, and that coupled with the fact that this guy seems extremely suspicious.
I buy that.
It feels very much so that the kids have been to this place numerous times. Not only have they hung out in the woods and played games, but they've been to this man's house. And he has a relationship with someone that knows a lot more, or he knows a lot more himself about what happened to the kids.
Don't you need a warrant for something like that?
You make us get one.
I think you'll have to, son.
Now, back in 2015 on the True Criminal set, Alyssa, she brings up a few new details in the case to Wayne, letting him know that some things were, you know, washed over in the investigation.
The addition of the scar was the new thing.
Yes.
And then Wayne kind of recalls that the tire tracks, back when he was investigating, he saw the tire tracks. He remembers seeing tire tracks near the woods, near the crime scene. So, you know, the brown sedan keeps kind of recycling through his head, you know, through his
Maybe
memories.
that's where Julie was,
Right.
in that car somewhere, but we haven't seen that car yet, so we don't know what's going on with that.
Yep.
But yeah, it looks like little clues are coming back that way.
This alone, don't you think, points to serious flaws in the investigation from the beginning?
Okay, let's move back to Brett Woodard for a second here. The second that scene started and you heard the truck, I was like, oh no, here we go. This is it.
Mob mentality, bunch of racist locals.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, all that. I was like, oh, here we go. I thought they were going to kill him.
Beat him up, threatened his life.
Yep. Threatened his life.
The sad thing is, like, he fought for those guys, you know?
Yeah.
He even says it. I fought in Vietnam, I fought for your rights. No one's giving him a fair shake. Everyone's presuming him guilty just because he's kept himself.
And what do you take of that scene where it looks like he's got a body?
We talked about this a little bit earlier before we were shooting. I think there's a 0% chance that that's a body.
It's not a knocked out Julie or something.
No body there.
No.
I think what they're trying to do is obviously make you think that it's a body, but it's pretty clear that it wouldn't be revealed that way that quickly.
No way. No.
Yeah. So I definitely think that he's going to fight back. I think that's 100% guaranteed. I think he's pissed off. I think he has a short fuse at this point. He's seen how the community has treated him prior to this case.
Oh, you're thinking he's going postal?
Oh yeah, he's going postal.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
You know, the community has already kind of discarded him, and he's already treated like an outsider. And then when this case comes up, and now they're literally resorting to physical means to taunt him and to hurt him, I think that now he's gonna snap, and I think he's gonna snap, and he's gonna try to kill every single one of those guys, those men that tried to kill him.
Okay, now back in 1990, a little bit of a surprise for most of us. I did not see this coming. Tom, he's still alive. He's found God.
He's sober.
He's sobered up. And Lucy has passed away.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since Lucy passed away. She passed away in Vegas. He says he brought the body back from Vegas. You know, they dealt with this tragedy in different ways, obviously. It was hard for her. She had to leave. We don't know how she died, but he found God, and he's kind of reinvigorated by the idea that Julie's still out there, and that the news of her prints there, you know, at the pharmacy. So he kind of just wants to find out the truth and find his child.
They're like this. They're like this.
Oh, sweetheart. Did you think you could just go on and never once have to look back?
Now we go forward to 2015, and just when you thought you had the whole show figured out, they bring up different dimensions. Ghost Amelia has returned in Wayne's head.
Yeah,
she's haunting him.
Yeah, the hallucination was interesting, you know, and it was a different version of Amelia, not only physically that we've seen, but also like it seemed that she was kind of prodding him or like, questioning him or kind of antagonizing him, which we haven't seen her really do that before. We've seen her kind of the more loving side of her and that kind of stuff. And now this one was more like, you know, you don't want them to find what you left in the woods and all these questions of dimensions and different realities and timelines. And I think it's just pretty much reiterating the fact that Wayne is haunted by his loss of memory, by not only her passing, but also the fact that he can't remember what is real and what isn't.
Yes, we're not looking at different timelines here, I don't think. I think it's just more to do with his memory. Now, the big thing to keep of note in that little conversation was he left something apparently in the woods. He's got to go back and find it.
That she knows about.
Yes.
Or that his conscience is kind of reminding him about, and kind of he feels bad about it.
Or say something about what he left in the woods. I don't think he's actually going back into the woods.
Yeah, maybe he covered something up that he saw, or he took justice into his own hands, and he's kind of not telling the whole truth of what happened.
Kept a clue. Maybe he held on to a clue. Who knows? Now, speaking of going back to the house, we go back again, and we find another clue here, this family photo album, where they find little Will, his hands.
Your hands clasped together like in prayer. It's not like a rare occurrence, right? If you're going to church and like this is something, but they think that someone who took the photo would be linked then to the killer putting the hands back in prayer. Now, I think it's a very loose connection. I mean,
it could be anyone who opened up that book and just found that.
It could be that, but it could also be like, a lot of bodies when they're laid to rest are either put in prayer or they're, hands crossed, or, I don't think it means that is the killer who also took the photo of someone in prayer. I mean, you'd see hundreds and thousands of people pose that way in religious
So you think maybe
situations.
Wayne takes it a little too far?
Well, yeah, I think Wayne, specifically Wayne, when he sees them, he comes across the
red lights go off in his head.
When he comes across a dead boy's body, that makes him extremely hypersensitive to anything, any imagery that looks that way. So I think it kind of maybe, he's. I think it's another case where the evidence is kind of pulling them in another direction. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the killer. Now, back in 1990, we get the return of our duo. The True Detectives team up again.
Yes, and one of the most True Detective scenes in all of True Detective. I loved it. I loved the banter back and forth.
Very well done.
Honestly, the only thing missing was John Wayne as the barkeep. That was the only thing missing from that scene, because it felt like the moment they leave, they get up, I'm thinking Searchers. I'm feeling like, okay, this is great. We're going into a Western 90s. This is going to be the Searchers. I would love that.
And I think fittingly, this is the moment where it's going to be less of those depositions, and now the case will move forward in the 90s, and we're going to find out what happened after they got back together and started they reopened the case and started working together again. Good to have those two back together. And there was maybe a little bit of jealousy on Wayne's part about what happened to Roland. It wasn't like super hard feelings between them, but it got political at some point.
And it seems like they're letting bygones be bygones, because they quickly go through that. I loved it.
Sorry about the pigmentation line.
No, you're not.
Half sorry.
So let's end on this. Do you think that we have seen the killer yet?
I almost want to say yes, but only if you want to go down the Amelia route. But I'm not doing that. I do not think we have seen the killer yet.
But you're leaning towards, if you had to pick one, it would be Amelia right now.
Now, in the comment section, people have pointed out that in the past, you have seen the killer in the 3rd episode of each season. So I don't think they're going to do it this year. I don't think the creators will do that this time around. But keep that in mind that you may have seen the killer in this episode.
I'm still leaning towards the Hoyt family. Something's mysterious about them. I mean, he just bounces conveniently right before Halloween.
That line.
Goes on a safari.
Wayne's a hunter.
He's
going to come find him.
I want Wayne to hunt down this guy who thinks he's a hunter. I think I'm just very suspicious about the Hoyt Foods and about the people that run that company. I have some bad vibes.
Now, 2015, that guy's probably long gone, I think, at this point.
Good point.
Again, we're dealing with maybe just Julie at this point of the story in 2015.
If there's anyone that could help Julie disappear, don't you think it would be someone with deep pockets, like the Hoyts?
Yes.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
But guys, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. Give us your theories, your predictions, who you think the killers are. Let us know. And obviously come back next week, episode 4 of True Detective. See you then.
Bye-bye.